On today's episode, I talk with Gary Mitchell, the founder of OnTrac Coach, about building a business around a challenging niche audience, where he finds success, and what to do when it feels like you're pushing a boulder up a hill. I'm Julie B., and they don't teach this in business school. Hey there, I'm Julie B., and you're listening to They Don't Teach This in Business School, a podcast where we discuss business ownership lessons that are learned on the journey and on the path of business ownership, not necessarily in a classroom. So today I'm really excited to interview Gary Mitchell, the founder of OnTrac Coach. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation with Gary because he's been at this for a while, and I know we are going to get some valuable business ownership lessons. So Gary, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. I'm super excited about our conversation.
Thanks so much, Julie. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah. So just let's start off with telling us about what you do at OnTrac Coach and what your day looks like, and just giving us a background on your business.
Okay. I guess I've just entered my 18th year as a business coach, niche market, law firms, and lawyers. You know, Julie, I never considered myself a masochist when I was growing up, but really, I chose lawyers as my first target market. They will be the first to admit they are the most analytical, critical, skeptical, risk-averse people on the planet. And it's like, I often make a joke. I have a plastic surgeon on speed dial for the dent in my forehead from banging it against the brick wall every day. I like to have some humor in my day to day, and my clients would be the first to admit they're not the easiest to work with, but I've always liked to challenge. I
Mm-hmm.
like working with intellectual people. They're smart, they're book smart. The challenge is to get them out of that book smart way and kind of help them with more soft skills,
Mm-hmm.
right? Being human,
Mm-hmm.
communicating, interacting, creativity, innovation, the skills that are required to be successful in business. And the irony is, all the skills that make them amazing, talented lawyers are exactly the opposite of what it takes to be successful as an entrepreneur or business owner. So it's a real challenge. I love it. Um, I truly love it to be able to see the lawyer wall come down
Mm-hmm.
and then them trust another person to guide them and then see the transformation that comes after that. It's my juice. I call
Mm-hmm.
it it's my juice. It's why I get up in the morning. It's so motivating. It's so fulfilling.
How long does it usually take you to get your get your clients excuse me, get your clients to value that opposite skill set, that kind of, that sounding board, or that person who's going to look at things differently? Because I imagine there's a little bit of a resistance initially in your engagements.
That's a good question because I'll tell you, my very first client, uh, he told me, and he basically set it up. I mean, what a gift. From the very beginning, he basically told me what I should be looking for in a target market within the target market.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of three people he looked at to get some assistance with his practice. He was already doing well. He was a partner at a large, prestigious firm,
Mm-hmm.
already doing well, but he wanted to do better, right? So he looked at three people. I was brand spanking new, like not a scratch on me, so to speak.
Got it. Yeah.
um, and he had looked at a couple of other people who had experience in the legal industry. I believe their background was legal marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me right out of the gate, he goes, the reason why I chose you, Gary, is I already know how to be a great lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I want what you've got. I want that entrepreneurial drive and spirit. So there's an example of someone who just let the guard go down right out of the gate, knowing that what I had was what he needed or wanted. He didn't have it. He had the lawyer part down, right? But he wanted the business part. And so, I mean, to answer your question, it can happen immediately, or it can take maybe a couple of months into the
Yeah.
coaching mandate where they really fully let down the guard and let me in. And I always say it at the beginning, right? There's no judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know lawyers, I know their mindsets, I know how they work, I know what they're afraid of, what they thrive in, how their brain works. I know that. There's no judgment ever. And the ones who let their guard down sooner always get more out of the coaching program.
Yeah.
I mean, it really started from a political background. How I got started is I was a campaign manager for a lawyer running for parliament. Parliament in Canada is the equivalent of the House of Representatives in the United States, for your listeners.
Got it.
And he was like a blank canvas, no experience, nothing. And I've been a political operative and strategist for many years, putting up signs when I was 9 years old. I got the political bug early, but anyway, so very, very intellectual, two master's degrees, one in geology, one in law. Book smart, yes. Intellectual, yes. Soft skills, blank canvas. But he was a sponge, an absolute sponge. And he took everything that I said, all the advice, because I had been a candidate myself and I'd been involved in politics for years. And that was really the aha moment of my life, Julie, that turned things around. His friend suggested I look at legal industry. I spent 9 months researching the industry, but watching someone else benefit from my experience, my skills, my mentorship, my coaching was amazing,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, wow. And that person, I guess, really, to be honest, he didn't really have much choice in the situation he was in, but to trust me because he's coming in like blind, blank slate. And it was an amazing, we're still friends today. I coached him many times after that, and his wife, who's also a lawyer.
Wow.
So it depends. Like each client is different, right?
Yeah.
They'll come in and they'll say they're open to, but it takes a little longer. But you have to understand the mentality, right? They're built up. I mean, this is why we hire lawyers, right? To protect us, to prevent things from happening or fix things if they've gone wrong. So there's a skill set that we're looking for that they stand up. So they're built up in this image of being the protector, right? So it is difficult for them to switch gears and let their guard down, right? And go in a whole different direction. So that's my main focus as a coach, right? There's information out everywhere. There's thousands of books on business, right? My main focus is as a human to another human, understanding the way their brain works, their challenges in their career, and what they need to succeed in the business of law. That basically breaks it down.
So, as you know, one of the questions I usually ask is, "What's your favorite part of being a business owner?" And I feel like you just answered it. And when you're looking at what you've done over the past 18 years, do you have a really big win, a really big success that really stands out in your mind as maybe one of the biggest successes you've had in business?
Can I bring up two?
Yeah,
They're very different.
yeah. Tell us two.
And my success is when a client succeeds. Okay. So the first one comes out of COVID. That week, I happen to be in Mexico, by the way, for your listeners. I typically work from Mexico in the wintertime. So I was in Mexico. It was March 15th would have been when I flew home. So it would have been, what, the 9th or 10th, Monday. I get an email from a partner in Vancouver. She had just made a monumental career shift. She left a very comfortable role at a boutique firm where she was a full-on partner, the owner, and never had to do any business development. The work just flowed, the nature of the firm, all that. And she took a leap to a national firm where she had to engage in business development, not only for her own practice, but to grow a practice group. And starting out as a non-equity partner, which is what happens if a partner moves from one firm to another. They're not automatically an owner. They have to earn it. So I'm listening to, we jump on a call the next day. I'm listening to this consultation of what she's doing. And, you know, she says she's excited, but she's afraid and scared. She's never had to do this. But obviously something was pulling her to take this huge leap, right? She's, in her words, very comfortable living, right? Great colleagues, no outside of law, like no real challenges, nothing really, no reason to jump ship. But she saw this opportunity. And I think that's an entrepreneurial brain right there.
Yeah.
Is that she saw opportunity, stretch herself, grow her career, whatever. So the next week, boom, we're in lockdown. She's 6 weeks into this transition. I've done a lot of transition work with lawyers moving from one firm to another, but now she's got to do it virtually. Add to that, she's a single mom with 2 young girls. Schools are closed. So now she's working from home, which she's never done. She's at a new firm trying to build relationships with her new colleagues. She's engaged in business development, which she's never done before,
Mm-hmm.
and she's taking care of her two young girls all at the same time. I mean, that is mind boggling,
Yeah.
right? Switching firms in an ideal scenario is challenging enough without all of those other factors. So I was just like, well, I was in awe of her, truly, to be honest. I was in
Yeah.
awe of the courage, uh, without put COVID aside for 1 minute, what she did without COVID. And then, oh my God, we start working together and
Mm-hmm.
she's getting some traction. And of course, I've never helped someone transition from firm to firm with a lockdown. Like it's
Yeah.
not only new to her, it's new to me, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, there's always a solution. That's my philosophy. There is always a solution. Um, so I was helping her make, build the relationships internally
Mm-hmm.
and reach out to her contacts professionally and let them know what she's doing, where she's at. I helped her with some tips on working from home. I've been working from home since the very beginning of my
Mm-hmm.
business. Um, and some people struggle, some people thrive. Everyone's different. Anyway, fast forward a couple of years, she's building her team. She's now national practice group leader.
That's awesome.
I mean, what she overcame, I, that's amazing. That's one.
Yeah.
Two, um, just 2 years ago, a large firm, it's in the top 10 largest firms in Canada, reached out to me. So she reached out to me, that previous story. That was the lawyer reaching out to me individually, right?
Mm-hmm.
This story is a law firm reaching out to me. They had a partner and he had a tough time. He was on leave. He was just coming back to his practice. And so the mandate was to help him get back on track, right? Um, this guy, he opened up really quickly, really, really quickly. And it was all on the table. He told me what the background was, why he was on leave. And I'm like, okay, like again, no judgment. Well, near the end of the year, working with him, on one call, he said to me, Gary, I'm only doing the things I truly love now. I said, well, you know why? Because you're delegating. You've built a team around you. He got the reputation with all the juniors and all the associates to be the partner to work with because he included them rather than keep them on a leash,
Yeah.
right? At a distance in the
Mm-hmm.
office, grinding the work. He invited them out to meet clients,
Mm-hmm.
client events. He involved them in the whole relationship. And in that year, he went from below zero to way beyond where he had been before he had taken the lead.
Mm-hmm.
He will be one of my guests on my upcoming podcast that I've just launched.
Great.
But I'm going to call the episode "The Comeback Kid." Um, there's been a lot about mental health and
Uh-huh.
issues because of COVID. COVID brought light to a lot of that, which I think is a positive thing that came out of the
Yeah.
pandemic. There are a couple things, a
Yeah.
couple positive things that came out. That's
Agreed.
one of them. But this was like to see him come from like drowning, and he would agree with that term, drowning,
Mm-hmm.
to absolutely thriving. Just the other week, he confirmed he's going to come on as a guest. He goes, Gary, things are better than they've ever been.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's awesome, right? Because it affects his entire life, his family life, his home life, his career, everything is fantastic. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are two, I would say, I mean, there's a lot of
Well,
stories,
it's
right?
it's the success and the client success. I mean, that's you
Oh, my
succeed when your
my
clients
success is
succeed.
always about the client success, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like that those are huge transformations,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And I've just broke it, but that's going to be the main theme of my podcast, the
Mm-hmm.
Law Biz podcast, is sharing these stories
Yeah.
so that other lawyers can listen and hear, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe it would help them break down their own wall and
Mm-hmm.
ask for help. They're not known to ask for help, right?
Yeah.
You've probably heard the joke, the lawyers always think they're the smartest person in the
Mm-hmm.
room, no matter who else is in the room.
Mm-hmm.
um, Again, it's because of the conditioning, right? Begins in law school, articling, they're built up, and everything is around. You've got to be strong. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
have the answers. You've got to, be there for your clients and all that. And guess what? We are before we're a podcast host
Mm-hmm.
or a lawyer or a doctor. We're human, right?
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
human. And I try to remind them that as many times as possible. They won't get it at first. Go, what are you before you're a lawyer? Pause, pause, pause. You're human.
Yeah. You're human, you're a person, you're a living
Yes.
being.
And we make mistakes. We are not perfect ever, ever.
Absolutely. Hey, this is Julie B, and you're listening to They Don't Teach This in Business School. I'm here with Gary Mitchell today, and we were just talking about some of his successes and that also the importance, I think, of if I had to summarize, getting perspective from outsiders that you can trust, and then also if you're the person seeking that perspective, being willing to be vulnerable to give as much to that person you're asking for help from so that they can help you as much as possible. I heard that with some of your clients, as they're lawyers are not, vulnerability is not a word that they usually associate with them, but in order to get the most out of, I think anybody who's getting coaching, the more vulnerable you're willing to be and open you're willing to be about what's really going on with
Yeah.
you, your business, whatever it is you're getting coaching about, the more help you're going to be able to get faster. Basically, you'll be able to get to
Well,
where you want to go a little bit more
an,
quickly.
an example, Julie, like if you've got a sore throat or
Mm-hmm.
there's something going on and you're going to a doctor's appointment, why would you not be completely honest with your
Mm-hmm.
doctor to let them know what's going on
Mm-hmm.
so that they can properly diagnose
Yeah.
or help you, right? It's the
Mm-hmm.
same kind of thing. And I always say that at the beginning is the more open and frank you are with me, the quicker I'm going to be able to help you get on track, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, there's no judgment. I mean,
Yeah.
who am I to judge, right? I'm here to help. That's my job. And the more open and honest a client is, then we can get to work
Mm-hmm.
quicker,
Yeah.
right?
So we talked about some of your really big successes prior to that little break there, and I want to ask you though, what are some of the what's one or two failures in your time in business that you've had that, I mean, obviously failures are mistakes and we learn lessons from them, but what are some that stand out to you that, if you had known differently, maybe you would have done it differently?
Okay, well, first of all, my philosophy about failure as a business coach, I have to just say this.
Mm-hmm.
The only failure is when you do make a mistake and you don't learn from it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's unfortunately throughout history, as human beings, getting back to that human
Mm-hmm.
theme, that's how we learn mostly is by
Mm-hmm.
mistakes.
Yeah.
I would say my biggest mistake would be on the business side, not on the coaching side.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be I spent a lot of money um, in the marketing realm on advertising, and nothing ever worked.
Mm-hmm.
And now I fully understand because I understand the lawyer brain more thoroughly. Advertising does not work with lawyers
Mm-hmm.
unless they're buying a $5 million house, a $5,000 suit, $10,000 watch, or a Ferrari. It doesn't work. And so I would say, from a business owner perspective, that's been my biggest failure. And I kept trying
Yeah.
because I didn't understand why it wasn't working right. Like more targeted, more targeted, more targeted. And then unfortunately, I'd get people coming to me like, "Oh, well, you haven't tried this and you haven't tried that," and they didn't listen to my gut. And my gut was telling me, "This doesn't work, Gary. Come on." Like you were hiring good people who know what they're doing in the realm of advertising. It was targeted,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but know your target market, know them, understand the way they think, the way they operate, where they are. And I failed in that respect, and that's bad because I teach part of what I teach, right, is my clients how to do marketing and business
Mm-hmm.
development, and the number one rule is know your target market, right?
Yeah.
So I'd
It's
say that's the biggest failure in business.
and I think that that's something that is a really hard lesson to learn because myself being in marketing for so many years, there's so many different types of marketing you can do. So if you, for example, if for whatever reason Google ads don't work for you, you might go try social media ads. And then if they don't
Right.
work for you, because your people are there, it's not only about like knowing your target market, it's about knowing where they do what. So
Where they are, yes,
yeah, so
exactly,
they
yeah,
it sounds like your clients buy will respond to consumer items from ads, but
right,
they're not going to
yeah,
respond to career development or business type
no,
advertising. So when did you finally just say enough? How long did it take you to say enough is enough, and I'm going to do it this one way? It sounds like most of your business comes through your referrals.
Yes, it
Mm-hmm,
also like somebody will read an article.
mm-hmm,
One client I was just recording, he's going to be my first guest.
mm-hmm.
He read my first book. He was on vacation.
Got
He
it.
says, he wanted to read a business book while he was on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
He picked up my first book and he called me when he got back from vacation. So, writing, speaking,
Got it.
it's actually exactly the same kind of marketing I strongly advise the lawyers to do.
Yeah.
Educational marketing, I call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's giving,
Mm-hmm.
giving information,
Mm-hmm.
giving value, um, not trying to sell, not trying to
Mm-hmm.
promote,
Mm-hmm.
like be yourself. Like not everyone's going to like me.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't need it. I don't need everyone to like me.
Yeah.
But being myself, I just launched a podcast. I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not going to be about me. It's all going to be about the client
Mm-hmm.
and their journey and what they were thinking, what they were feeling, how they overcame things. And so again, that's another extension of educational marketing. That definitely works. It also feels right, Julie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I don't want to push things. Like coaching is one of those intent, you can't touch it. You can't pick it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get it or you don't.
Yep.
There's no point in hammering anyone over the head,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if they don't feel it right is right for them, that's fine,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
it's got to be they've got to feel some kind of connection. In other words, in order to maybe pick up the phone or type an email and get in contact, right? And if they don't feel a connection, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things where I was just thinking, wouldn't it be great if you could get a list of lawyers and know when they're going on vacation and then send them a book to read while they're on vacation? Like that's your marketing strategy. Because I would assume lawyers I mean, they have to read so much just to get
They
their
read a
law
lot.
degree to begin with
They read a lot.
that
Yeah.
some at some level they have to like reading. So
I think they actually become addicted to reading.
I,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like I'm addicted to listening to podcasts now. When I first started podcasting, I didn't even listen to podcasts, and now I probably spend, I don't know, like anytime I'm not working, if I'm like
Yeah.
doing chores or walking, I'm listening to a podcast. So
Yeah.
I think I'm a little addicted myself to that. Oh man. Hey, you're listening to They Don't Teach This in Business School. I'm here today with Gary Mitchell, and we were just talking about failure and success and all of the fun things that go into running a business. But Gary, one thing I'm really passionate about, and I like to get as many stories as I can about this. I don't know if you have ever experienced burnout as a business owner.
Mhm.
If you have, I would love for you to just share. You may have had multiple rounds with it, like I have. But do you have a story that stands out in your mind that maybe other business owners can learn from when it comes to burnout?
I don't know if one stands out, but there seems to be it's happened more than once. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 18 years in. It's my second business. I started my first business out of Toronto when I was 25. Um, I did not go to business school, by the
Mm-hmm.
way,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like to comment on the title of your podcast because I think it's brilliant. And there's a lot more on that
Mm-hmm.
subject. So let's get back to that before we finish.
That'll be the last question I ask you.
Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Um, Burnout. Okay, so I think the burnout for me comes when I'm getting nothing back.
Mm.
If I'm in a rut with some clients, they're not doing the work, they're not making progress. It seems like I'm wasting my time. Nothing's happening. There doesn't seem to be any forward movement,
Mm-hmm.
and basically, I feel my energy is being sucked out of my body.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's happened probably 3 times. Um, what I have done to overcome that is simply take a deep breath, let it go to the gym, watch a movie, go for a walk, just completely remove myself and let it go. Because if you're pushing a boulder up a hill, something is not working. And that something, more often than not, is not in your control.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you can sit there and you can fret, you can stress out, which is not good on any level for your body, for your mind, for your
Mm-hmm.
business. or you can just let it go
Mm-hmm.
and get out of the situation, take a break, whatever it is, for you, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that means for you. Um, Go run a marathon. I know some people that's stress relieving for them.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, that's my experience because it's obviously whatever's going on is not working,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you won't figure it out unless you get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're in it, it's kind of like you're in quicksand, right? And you can't figure a way out. So, well, that's a bad analogy because you can't get out of quicksand.
Yeah, but it's really hard. I mean, it's really, really
Yeah,
hard. And you have to stop fighting it. That's the
that's the
thing.
point.
Yeah.
That's the point. Is stop fighting. Stop trying to push the boulder up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to work unless you have like 12 people behind you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a mechanical truck, something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
on a spiritual level, the universe is trying to tell you something,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That's the way I think. So I just let it go and go do something that I'm passionate about. For me, I love to sing. That's a always have. So if I'm frustrated, I'll just go to my Spotify, my karaoke song list, and sing. If I can exercise and sing at the same time, boom.
That's awesome. You know, I like
That
to
is
drive.
like
I drive
that's
around in my car and sing very loudly. I
nice,
do. I do the kind of. I
nice,
do that
good.
same thing. Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
have been told to shut up at the gym a few times, but my philosophy is this: I'm going to sing until someone tells me to stop, and that's it.
Yeah.
And as soon as they tell me to stop, I'm very polite. I'm like, "Oh, really? I didn't realize I was that loud. Oh, there's no music in the gym. Oh, okay, okay."
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
my best. That is my best stress relief.
yeah. No. And usually there is some type of getting out of whatever space you're in, like
Yeah.
physically moving, removing yourself from the space that you're in, that you're
Yes.
experiencing that
Well,
burnout
that will
in.
help. That will help get you out of your head too,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely. Well, Gary,
Yeah.
listen, I have so enjoyed this conversation. And as we're coming to the end here, I always ask the question I always ask business owners is if they were going to teach a class to future business owners,
Mhm.
what's the one main lesson that you would want them to learn? But you said you had some specific thoughts on the title of the podcast, too. So if you want to throw them in there as well, this is the time to do it.
Okay. Well, let me start with um, my big my big idea.
Yeah.
Um, like because I always ask people, what's your legacy going to be? If
Mm-hmm.
my legacy would be this, it would be the don't know if I have a title for it, but
Mm-hmm.
the School of Business
Mm-hmm.
or School of Entrepreneur no School of Entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
It would be that I donate this facility and it would be attached to a major prominent business school, but it would all be about what it is to be an entrepreneur, hands on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's one thing to read a book and study, and there's a lot of smart people that read a lot of books and study and have a lot of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But running a business is very, very different. You've got to be on your toes. You have to be listening all the time, eyes wide open, ears wide open. You have to be nimble. You have to be ready to make a move. I mean, the skill set to run a
Mm-hmm.
business in today's day and age, they don't teach that at school.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, this is one of the things in the legal industry. They're always saying, "Oh, they don't teach that at law school." No, they don't. They don't even teach you how to be a lawyer at law school. What they teach you at law school is how to learn, which is great and very valuable. But make no mistake, an MBA, that doesn't teach you how to run a business. Not at all. So I don't know how to, because I don't want to put down academia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that isn't valuable.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my point. Um, but you need to get your hands dirty,
Yeah.
right? Like my advice is if you want to be an entrepreneur one day, you're just starting out, maybe you're young, go and intern for some entrepreneur in your community. Not free, obviously. You should be
Mm-hmm.
paid, but go and work with that person. Go and see how they spend their day and how they interact with people. The people skills are the most valuable skills you will ever have. And you don't learn that in a classroom. You don't learn that from a book. You learn that from being out there, getting your hands dirty and building the experience. That's my advice.
Yeah.
And ironically, you know, I say this all the time, but the hardest part of business is the people part.
Oh.
You can plug in all the apps and all the technology and it just goes. It's humming along. But managing people, working with people, leading people, inspiring people, that is always the hardest part in business. And you don't learn that in any school.
Yeah. Yeah, and even that is one of those things where I think you have to just roll up your sleeves and dig in, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things. I actually interviewed somebody a couple of months ago who said she actually apologized to people who worked for her 10 years ago, because she was like, I was not a great leader then. I'm not even a great leader now, but I'm better than I was, and I'm sorry.
Right.
She was like, I'm sorry if you worked for me 10 years ago. like a heartfelt apology, because you know, we recognize it. I think honestly that's one thing that makes a good leader, is knowing that you're going to mess up, knowing that you're not going to do it perfectly, learning from the mistakes. But you have to know yourself. You've got to really know yourself well to be able to, you know, accept those things and change it.
One brief thing on leadership. I know we could go on forever here. Is my advice for leaders and people who are growing their business is do a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Old school was pick up your shorts and work on your weaknesses. Then along came Steve Jobs and turned that upside down. And I have to admit, in the 90s, old school made sense. Yeah, work on your weaknesses, right? You got to pick that up. Steve Jobs' philosophy is master your strengths and then build a team around you to take care of all the holes. And I'm like, duh. So as a leader, that's the most important thing you could do. But that means humility. That means knowing yourself, like you just said, and knowing that you don't have all the answers, and you want to surround yourself with the most talented and most brilliant people, even when they're smarter than you. Then you are an amazing leader, right?
Yeah.
That's leadership in my book. Anyway.
Well, and I think we're going to end it there, because that is a very good point. So Gary, listen, I have so enjoyed this conversation and your time, and I know the business owners listening are going to get a lot out of this. I just want to thank you again for being on the show today.
My pleasure, Julian. Thanks for having me. I love the theme. I love the title. I love what you're doing. I think it's important.
I appreciate that very much. So thank you for that compliment. And I will just say that is it for this episode. But stay tuned, because I'll be back soon with more lessons learned on the business owner's journey. I'm Julie B., and they don't teach this in business school.